I refuse. I refuse. I refuse to wear a seatbelt. I refuse to take a breathalyzer. I refuse to take a mandatory drug test. I refuse to take a mandatory polygraph. I refuse to take a mandatory anything. I refuse. I refuse to cut my hair. I refuse to shave my beard. I refuse to wear underwear. I refuse to go to the Kentucky Derby. I refuse. I refuse background credit checks in order to get a job. I refuse background medical checks in order to get a job. I refuse medical exams in order to get a job. I refuse. I refuse to bow down to any government. I refuse to bow down to any religion. I refuse to bow down to any corporation. I refuse to bow down to any military. I refuse to bow down to any secret court. I refuse to bow down to any dogma. I refuse. I refuse to accept or adhere to meaningless laws. I refuse to fight wars for despots, for tyrants, for power mongers. I refuse to fight wars. I refuse. I refuse to hurt anyone. I refuse. I refuse to stop drinking red wine. I refuse to stop smoking marijuana. I refuse to stop taking mescaline and peyote. I refuse. I refuse to stop living my nonviolent warrior life on my own terms. I refuse to bow down to anyone or anything. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse to kiss anybody's ass except June's. I refuse to kiss ass. I refuse to do anything Big Brother asked me to do. I refuse, Big Brother. I refuse. I refuse to be spanked by anyone but June. I refuse. I refuse to wear pink tights or panties or any other women's clothes except maybe a woman's cowboy hat every now and then, but you go ahead and wear whatever you want to wear. I refuse to tell anyone what to do unless they're hurting someone, then I'll do all I can to stop them. I refuse to be a disciplinarian or an authoritarian. I refuse. I refuse to be a member of the status quo. I refuse to live in the suburbs. I refuse to sleep too much. I refuse to be a zombie. I refuse to submit to anyone or anything. I refuse to go to church. I refuse to have anything to do with the church or an undertaker. I refuse to believe in anything you ask or tell me to believe. I refuse to tell a lie. I refuse to allow you to bring me down. I refuse marriage. I refuse divorce. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse to hurt anyone or anything. I refuse to hurt Mother Earth. I refuse to hurt my family, friends, allies, guides, angels. I refuse to hurt my enemies. I refuse. I refuse to be angry. I refuse to hate. I refuse to follow any path but the path of love. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse.